Welcome back to High Stakes. Today, we will be discussing the following NCAAF matches that is happening on Saturday, October 7th, 2023. We will be providing our team, total, and prop picks for the day. Before we get started, please remember to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our videos. If you want access to our premium picks, you can check out our Patreon page. You can find the link to our Patreon page in the description and comment section below. Marshall versus NC State. NC State has had an interesting season so far, with a 2-0 record on the road, but only managing a 1-2 record at home. The decision to make the switch from Morris probably had its reasons, but if he was indeed a better option than Armstrong, one might wonder why they didn't start him from the beginning. The team has performed better than anticipated against ranked opponents, evident in their narrow 3-point loss to Louisville last week. However, they also narrowly escaped with a victory against Virginia. I believe Marshall will enter this game with high energy, given their undefeated record. While they have demonstrated the ability to secure road victories, their competition thus far hasn't been particularly formidable. One concerning aspect is Marshall's run defense, especially considering NC State's reliance on a ground-heavy offense. However, if they can load the box and force Armstrong to pass, their chances of causing an upset will significantly improve. It's worth noting that NC State doesn't yield many rushing yards, which may compel Marshall to lean more heavily on their passing game. I'm confident that Marshall will do enough to cover the spread in this scenario, particularly because I believe their passing game has the capability to make that happen. Consider taking Marshall with the plus 6.5 point spread. Both teams will attempt to establish their running game initially, but I anticipate both defenses will stand firm in halting the opposing rushing attacks. Consequently, we can expect a showdown for control of the clock, where time of possession and the number of overall possessions will become valuable commodities as the game unfolds. The game is likely to begin at a slow pace, but could gain momentum after halftime when both teams opt to increase their passing attempts. Notably, NC State has only allowed 21 points or fewer to teams other than Notre Dame this season, while Marshall limited another ACC team, Virginia Tech, to just 17 points. Consider betting on the under for this matchup. Next, we have Central Michigan versus Buffalo. The favorable choice in this matchup is Central Michigan. Their running game displays impressive strength, with an average of 161.6 rushing yards per game. Running back Miles Bailey has been highly effective this season, accumulating 305 yards and scoring 2 touchdowns. Central Michigan's proficiency in controlling the clock and setting the game's tempo is evident in their substantial 56% run play percentage. This level of dominance in the ground game serves to shorten the game duration and places the onus on the opponent to excel offensively. Central Michigan's well-balanced offense, which averages 338.6 total yards per game, will consistently keep Buffalo's defense on edge throughout the contest. Anticipate Central Michigan to secure victory by a touchdown, comfortably covering the minus 3-point spread. The over 53.5 isn't just a solid choice, it's an excellent one. Let's delve into the statistics. Central Michigan is maintaining an average of 338.6 total yards per game, closely followed by Buffalo at 333.6 yards. Both teams' defenses have exhibited susceptibility, with Central Michigan conceding an average of 453.6 total yards and Buffalo allowing 460.4 yards. These figures aren't mere data points, they form a clear path to anticipate a high-scoring contest. With the over-under set at 53.5, considering the offensive potency and defensive frailties in play, this game appears poised to surpass that threshold. The fusion of Central Michigan's ground-oriented strategy and Buffalo's aerial offensive approach creates a formula for a scoreboard that will illuminate like a Christmas tree. Feel confident in selecting the over 53.5. Next, we have Washington State versus UCLA. This presents a perfect opportunity for the Bruins offense to rebound, as they are set to confront one of the conference's weaker red zone defenses. On the defensive front, UCLA should have the capability to disrupt plays in the opponent's backfield and create discomfort for Ward when he's in passing situations. Washington State has displayed efficiency across the field, except within the red zone, where they have struggled. Now, they will be up against one of the most formidable red zone defenses in the entire country. Following a recent loss and with the home advantage, UCLA appears to be in a favorable position to handle their business. Consider backing UCLA with a minus 3.5 point spread. There is some apprehension regarding Ward's ability to maintain the offensive rhythm. When it comes to scoring within the opponent's 20-yard line, the Bruins have yet to demonstrate enough consistency to instill confidence in their ability to secure touchdowns. In the previous game, the Cougars effortlessly moved the ball during the first half but encountered difficulties in the second half, nearly jeopardizing their chances of victory. UCLA's defense is expected to prevent quick successive scores, similar to what occurred last week, and it's worth noting that the Cougars have also struggled in the red zone. Following an impressive offensive performance last week, I anticipate that Washington State's offense will face a tougher challenge against the Bruins' defense, which has been allowing just 12 points per game. Considering these factors, the favorable play appears to be on the under. Consider selecting the under with a total set at 59.5 points. Syracuse versus North Carolina. Considering Syracuse's recent loss to the Clemson Tigers at their home ground, it's challenging to envision them covering the spread when they are on the road against a more formidable opponent like the Tar Heels. May demonstrates superior skills compared to Klubnik, and the Clemson offense managed to score over 30 points. In this matchup, North Carolina doesn't need to rely heavily on their defense. Instead, they can depend on their offense to secure the victory. I am confident that they can execute this game plan effectively. North Carolina should prioritize a run-heavy approach early in the game to wear down Syracuse's defense. This strategy will set the stage for a more effective passing game and ultimately allow them to control the clock against a fatigued defense, leading to a comfortable victory. Consider taking UNC with the minus 8.5 point spread. North Carolina has consistently scored 30 or more points in every game they've participated in this season. Similarly, with the exception of their recent match against Clemson, Syracuse has managed to put up 29 or more points in all of their games this season. I trust in May's ability to dissect the Syracuse defense with his passing skills, potentially forcing Syracuse to play catch-up. UNC has leaned heavily on their offense to secure victories this season, and I anticipate this pattern will persist. While Syracuse has faced somewhat weaker competition, they still possess the potential to score a minimum of 20 points against a defense that is slightly above average. Syracuse has conceded an average of over 22 points in their last 3 games, which is a noticeable departure from their strong defensive performance a few weeks ago. I have confidence that May can put up at least 35 points against this defense, making it likely that the total points scored will surpass the set mark. Consider opting for the over instead of the under. Next, we have Wake Forest versus Clemson. This season has been atypical for Clemson, but it's worth noting that their losses haven't been against weak teams. Duke, for instance, has been a pleasant surprise this season and had a realistic chance of defeating Notre Dame last week. Furthermore, Florida State is in contention for a playoff spot. While this Clemson team may not reach the same heights as the Trevor Lawrence or Deshaun Watson-led teams of the past, they still stand as a significantly above-average ACC team. Their previous victory over Syracuse on the road, with a 17-point margin, suggests they can replicate that success in this game. Wake Forest is also experiencing a decline this season, with Sam Hartman's absence leaving 5 feet 11 inches Mitch Griffiths to contend with Clemson's formidable defensive front. The Tigers are expected to dominate the line of scrimmage, causing difficulties for Griffiths in finding open receivers within a limited time frame. Wake Forest's sole notable win came against Vanderbilt, a team that is arguably one of the weakest in the SEC. Under the leadership of Swinney, Clemson is poised to deliver an impressive performance in this home game against a rival that appears overmatched. Consider choosing Clemson to secure the victory and cover the spread. Both of these teams have only surpassed the point total when facing significantly weaker opponents. While Clemson is undoubtedly superior to Wake, it's expected that Wake Forest will present a tougher challenge compared to teams like Charleston Southern or Florida Atlantic. Clemson has remained below the point total in their games against Duke, FSU, and Syracuse. While they are poised to control this game, it's unlikely they will need to accumulate 50 to 60 points to secure victory. Wake Forest is anticipated to encounter difficulties in putting points on the board against Clemson's formidable defense. They previously managed just 16 points against Georgia Tech, and the Tigers boast a higher level of defensive talent. Clemson is expected to exert dominance in the trenches during this game, allowing them to run the ball extensively in the second half as they cruise to a victory that will stay below the point total. Consider selecting the under for this game. Next we have Virginia Tech versus Florida State. The fact that Florida State encountered a nearly identical situation a year ago, following the Clemson game and a bye week, and managed it successfully, has significantly diminished any concerns I might have had about the Seminoles coming out with sluggishness or rust. The energy in the stadium is expected to be high, given that this is Florida State's first home game since September 9th. From there, it won't take much for the Seminoles to gain momentum and potentially secure a convincing victory. The Hokies' defense hasn't faced an offensive attack with the level of talent that Florida State possesses. Unless Virginia Tech's offense manages a late-game resurgence, they are not likely to experience substantial success. Additionally, the Hokies have committed 3 turnovers in 2 road games, suggesting that they are unlikely to win the turnover battle. Those game-changing plays and extra possessions that worked in their favor last week against Pittsburgh are not expected to be as readily available this week. While some may have raised doubts about Florida State's true caliber after narrowly defeating Boston College and having a close contest against Clemson last week, in a situation like this, facing this type of opponent, it is generally advisable to side with the more talented team, as I am doing here. Choose to back Florida State in this matchup. Last season, the Seminoles had the luxury of having 2 bye weeks, and in their return games, they went 2-0 on the over-under, scoring 35 and 41 points respectively. In the 2021-22 season, Florida State managed to score 59 points after a bye week, and their post-bye games in the 2019-20 season concluded with 57 and 59 total points respectively. This pattern shows a 4-1 over-under record in post-bye games for Florida State, regardless of their overall performance as a team. Considering this trend, I find it compelling to lean towards the over for this week's total. If the Seminoles deliver the dominant performance that I anticipate, achieving over 40 points is well within their reach. The Hokies' offense would only need to put up a score or 2 to contribute to an over ticket, and this could become more attainable during extended garbage time, should that scenario materialize. Consider taking the over in this game. Next we have Kent State versus Ohio U. Despite the rather substantial point spread, my preference is still to back the Ohio Bobcats in this matchup. There's simply not much to be concerned about regarding Kent State's offense or defense. Furthermore, Ohio has had the benefit of extra time to pinpoint additional weaknesses in an already struggling football team, which almost appears unfair. Interestingly, the last time this rivalry game didn't conclude with a single score difference was also when Ohio was listed as double-digit home favorites, which happened in 2017 during the era of quarterback Nathan Rourke, older brother of Curtis, wearing the Ohio Bobcats colors. On that occasion, the game saw a young Nathan Rourke not having to do much, 8-for-17 for 132 yards and 2 touchdowns, as the rushing attack took center stage with 336 rushing yards, resulting in a commanding 48-3 victory for Ohio. Fast forward 7 years, and this game appears to share many similarities with that previous encounter, with Ohio expected to dominate. The Bobcats' defense seems well positioned to deliver another formidable performance this year, potentially limiting Kent State to 3 to 7 points, akin to the 2017 game. It's conceivable that Ohio's defensive statistics in terms of yards allowed this season will serve as the minimum benchmark when matching up against Kent State's offensive yardage. If Ohio can revitalize their somewhat sputtering offense early on and achieve a performance level of B+ or better, it's likely that this game will turn into a one-sided affair. I hold little faith in Kent State's offense even posing a credible threat to keep pace on the scoreboard, making it challenging to envision them covering the spread. Moreover, considering Kent State's struggles on the road, where they've been outscored 137-22 in 3 games, it seems logical to fade their side. My inclination is to back Ohio in this scenario. The total for this game is worth noting because it has already seen a decrease from the opening line of 47 points. This shift can be easily understood when considering Kent State's dismal offensive statistics in contrast to Ohio's impressive defensive performance. However, this total is starting to approach a level where Ohio could potentially reach the over on their own if things aligned favorably for them. It's also important to acknowledge the slim possibility that Kent State could drastically alter their offensive output and suddenly score 17 to 20 points, no matter how unlikely it may seem. Thus, there is a growing case for the over to gain more appeal, particularly when examining the fact that over the past 3 seasons, Ohio games following a bye week have concluded with scores of 45 to 24, 35 to 33, and 52 to 10, all favoring the Bobcats. The projected scores in the range of 38 to 7 or 35 to 10, as implied by this spread and total combination, still require avoiding the occurrence of big plays, which can swiftly impact college football games and potentially push the total past the mid-40s mark. Even with their struggling offense, it's noteworthy that Kent State has a 2-0 over-under record this year when the total is below 50 points. All factors seem to align for Ohio's offense to potentially have a breakout performance. If there ever was a favorable scenario to support a team aiming to achieve their first over total of the year, it's when they come off a bye week as nearly 30-point favorites. Keep in mind that there is always a first time for everything, and this includes the possibility of Kent State's offense surpassing the 10-point mark against FBS competition. With these considerations in mind, I'm hopeful that a combination of these factors will lead to a successful over ticket in this game. Next, SE have Bowling Green versus Miami's OH. Although these Mid-American Conference foes have engaged in closely contested matches in recent years, their most recent encounters in 2021 and 2022 have resulted in a 1-1 tie. Given the significance of this game, it promises to be another memorable installment in this captivating rivalry. Nevertheless, the Redhawks enter this matchup with a significant advantage. They have been outscoring their conference rival, allowing fewer points per game, and are currently riding a 4-game winning streak. Considering the Falcons' less than impressive performance in away games, this appears to be a golden opportunity for the dominant Redhawks to secure a substantial victory. Consider taking Miami with a minus 10-point spread. Considering the offensive talent possessed by both of these teams, it's clear that the over-under set at 45 points makes this one of the easiest picks of the year. Both teams are coming into this game with impressive offensive performances. The Falcons scored 38 points just last week, while the Redhawks have accumulated a total of 85 points in their last 2 games. In the 5 games played in 2023, the over has hit in 3 out of 5 for both teams. The Falcons have been averaging a respectable 25 points per game in 2023, and the Redhawks have been even more impressive, tallying 39 points per game during their dominant 4-game winning streak. In light of these factors, it's a straightforward decision is to take the over. Next, we have North Texas versus Navy. I'm opting for the Mean Green to cover the spread in this game for a couple of reasons. They appear to have a favorable matchup against Navy due to their strong passing attack, whereas Navy primarily relies on their running game and struggles to defend against downfield passing. It's likely that North Texas will exploit this weakness, resulting in a high team total as they either keep the game close or build a lead. On the other side of the equation, Navy is proficient in running the ball but faces challenges in their passing game, typically choosing their passing situations carefully. In this game, they may find it difficult to keep pace with North Texas's offense and may be forced to pass more frequently than they'd prefer. Neither team possesses a particularly strong defense, suggesting that this game is likely to be high-scoring. Given these factors, I prefer to side with the team that excels in passing the ball. With that said, I have confidence in selecting North Texas to cover the spread in this matchup. Choose the North Texas Mean Green with a plus 6-point spread. I'm opting for the over in this game for several reasons. First and foremost, it's worth noting that the only previous encounter between these two teams resulted in a final score of 74-62. While it's important to recognize that circumstances can change from year to year and game to game, both of these teams are accustomed to high-scoring contests with limited defensive prowess. North Texas, on average, scores approximately 36 points per game while allowing their opponents to tally around 43 points per game this season. Navy's offensive statistics may not be as apparent due to their run-heavy approach, but given North Texas's defensive performance, Navy should be able to generate a solid team total as well. Anticipate both teams putting up 30-plus points in this game, creating another high-scoring affair, similar to their recent games last week. In terms of recent trends, the Mean Green have consistently gone over the total in all of their games this season, while Navy has surpassed the total in their last 2 games overall. Considering these factors, I have confidence in selecting the over for this game. Choose the over with a total set at 61 points. Next we have Northern Illinois versus Akron. Despite the Zips securing a significant victory over the Huskies in the previous season, it's important to note that NIU holds a substantial advantage in this rivalry. They have an impressive 6-1 record in their last 7 meetings. Given that both teams have struggled to maintain consistency in recent times, the outcome of this game could swing in either direction. One notable advantage that the Huskies possess is their quarterback play. Rocky Lombardi has recently been instrumental in turning their season around. If DJ Irons encounters difficulties in passing the ball once again, potentially becoming one-dimensional as a runner, it is likely that the favored Huskies will emerge victorious on the road in this matchup. Consider taking NIU with a minus 6.5 point spread. While both of these teams haven't consistently produced high-scoring games in 2023, their defenses have shown vulnerability, suggesting that an early offensive surge could lead to a repeat of their 2022 matchup, which resulted in a blowout win for Akron with 56 total points scored. Over their last 10 games, the over has hit in 6 out of 10 for the Huskies. Additionally, the Zips have allowed 20 or more points in 8 of their last 10 games. Given these factors, if the Huskies' offense, led by Lombardi, manages to get off to a strong start, there is a strong possibility that we'll witness a high-scoring shootout in this game. In light of these considerations, it's a straightforward choice: go for the over.